Welcome back to Swiss Watch Expo. This is Angel, and this week we're taking a look at my 3 picks for vintage Rolex models. Stick around. Welcome back to Swiss Watch Expo. This is Angel, and this week I thought we'd take a look at some really fun, very unique watches. We have my 3 picks, my current favorites, I'll say that, for Rolex vintage models. So today we'll be taking a look at this gorgeous Explorer 2. We'll also have a vintage Seadweller and a vintage GMT Master 2. So let's get right into it. So the first model that I chose is this vintage Explorer 2. This is going to be a 16550 reference. And the reason I chose this, I think that it has patinaed so beautifully over time. This dial was actually more of a white color when it was originally created. And it just kind of faded out a little bit over time because of the type of paint that they used in combination with the tritium markers. I think that they've matched so beautifully over time and really lend themselves to that kind of monochromatic nude colors that we see a lot in a lot of attires right now. A lot of people are into the nudes, the browns, the grays, colors like that. And I really, really love the way that the GMT hand actually pops against this dial. So this is actually one of, if not the first 5-digit reference from the Explorer 2 collection. This is a 1987 edition, and it'll have a 3085 movement. So that's going to give you a 2-day, pretty much a 48-hour power reserve on this watch. So I think it's a very unique way to do an Explorer 2 and just a really great conversation piece when you have it on your wrist. You don't really see this style. Also, I really love the way that they have the white gold surrounds around the dots on the dial versus the black that we see more commonly now. I think it really lends itself again to that kind of monochromatic look that you see on the watch here. So my top pick right now for a vintage Rolex. Next up, let's get into the Seadweller here. Now, the reason I love this, I think it has created such a great look over time. I love the tritium markers on this again. They've gotten really, really patinaed, and I think it really showcases that elongated triangle on the top of the dial. This also has an acrylic crystal, which is kind of rare to find on a timepiece like this, a dive watch in particular. And I really love the way that they've done the helium release valve on this. It's very discreet when you look at it in comparison to some of the models that we see now in the Seadweller collection. Another thing I really love about this is the actual case back and how it has the Rolex insignia and verbiage on the back. I'm not sure if Rachel can capture that on film, but I think it's absolutely gorgeous. A great touch to the watch and just a great profile on this. Again, another great conversation piece. We see a lot of people with Seadwellers and Submariners and things like that, but this one is one that's a little bit unique in the way that it's designed. So I love this model. Great, great model for everyday wear as well. And then of course you'll have that Holes case, which I think kind of gives a little more feel of that vintage feel. You can kind of hear the jingle in the bracelet, which I think also is a nice touch. And then lastly is the GMT Master 2. Oh, also to kind of talk about the year, let's go back a little bit to the Seadweller. This Seadweller is going to be a 1979-1980 release. So let's jump back into this GMT Master 2. This is going to be a 16760 reference for this model, and you'll have what's called the Fat Lady. So the Fat Lady is speaking towards not only the beautiful curvatures of the case that they implemented. A lot of people know this under the moniker the Sophia Loren because of the beautiful curves and everything that it has, but also it has that 3085 movement, just like the Explorer 2 we took a look at here, which is a little bit thicker. It lends itself to allowing an additional hand for that GMT function. That is going to make the case a little bit thicker because the movement itself is a little bit thicker. So just some of the little nuances that you can find in some of the Rolex models that are vintage. I am a huge fan of the Coke bezel versus the Pepsi bezel. In my opinion, I think the black and red is a great touch. Even though blue is my favorite color, I think that this is a great way to showcase the GMT bezel. Then, of course, you'll have models like the root beer and things of that nature. But one of my favorite styles, and this is a 40 millimeter case on this watch. So I think you cannot go wrong with the GMT function watch. You'll be able to tell time in so many different time zones, 3 to be exact, if you really want to get into the functionality of it. And just a great piece overall. So my 3 picks for vintage Rolex models. Let us know down in the comments what your favorites are. We have a lot of great Rolex vintage models here at Swiss Watch Expo, and we'd love to show you maybe on a FaceTime video and get one added to your collection. This is Angel again here at Swiss Watch Expo, and we'll see you next week.